Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about Heroes Reborn Issue 7 and Heroes Return Issue 1, written by Jason Aaron, where the world of the Squadron Supreme of America falls apart. We have the rebirth of the Avengers, and basically they go to war against the Squadron Supreme and Mephisto. So without further ado, let's get into this. Oh, and before I get into the story itself, I do have to say that I skipped over Heroes Reborn Issue 6. It focuses on Power Princess, and I have to say that particular issue, it's a letdown. There's not much substance to that standalone story, and it's one of the few misfires within the whole Heroes Reborn crossover itself. So the main premise of issue 7 is that the Squadron Supreme have discovered the existence of the Avengers. They're an existential threat to this whole reality that, for those who don't know, was created by Mephisto. Now, the really cool thing about this issue, it goes into like the whole history of this version of the Marvel Universe. First, it dives into the conflict between Hyperion and Nighthawk. They pretty much had an open war between both of these characters, and Nighthawk during this time used the Venom symbiote to see if he can get an upper hand over Hyperion. And this is referenced in many of the Heroes Reborn tie-ins. Also, something cool is that they sort of sandwich together Marvel Civil War and the conflicts in the DC universe between Batman and Superman, because obviously Hyperion and Nighthawk are takes on those characters. So one of the main things that the Squadron Supreme is trying to do is trying to find Wakanda. In this reality, Wakanda has never made itself known to the world, and one of its operatives had a run-in with Nighthawk previously in this crossover, which was Ronin, which in this reality, Ronin was actually T'Challa. Then we get a flashback to when Wolverine actually killed Hyperion. Logan wanted to take vengeance on Hyperion for killing the X-Men, and especially killing Jean Grey. And with help from Shaman, he actually put a spell on his claws to make him more dangerous. So we never discover how Hyperion came back from the dead, but from that point on, he and the rest of the Squadron Supreme were pretty much hell-bent on trying to kill Logan. And we actually get a pretty cool tie-in issue where the Squadron Supreme finally capture him. Hyperion incinerates him, but he knows due to his powers he's going to come back. So Dr. Spectrum actually abandons Wolverine's corpse on the moon, but not on the blue side where there's air, on the normal part of the moon. So his body cannot regenerate and he cannot come back from the dead. Then we get a pretty interesting moment where Power Princess and Blur go to interrogate Norman Osborn, where Norman is totally aware that this reality is fake, but he loves the way things are now, so he pleads with Power Princess to stop the Avengers. There we get a glimpse that during a time we had sort of like the Dark Reign situation in this reality, where Norman Osborn also created his own version of the Dark Avengers, which is called the Dark Squadron, and the lineup is actually pretty cool. You had Moon Knight, Valkyrie, Nova, Sentry, and Ghost Runner. Then we get a pretty interesting mistake in the story, or at least for me, it's a mistake. Because this whole reality is a creation of Phil Coulson, and there's a moment where the Squadron Supreme go to the Lincoln Memorial, and you have a statue of Nick Fury instead of Lincoln. And it's actually the old school Nick Fury, and the thing is that Phil Coulson didn't have much of a relationship with him. Phil Coulson was buddies with the son of Nick Fury, the black one, the African-American Nick Fury. So there should have been a statue of Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, and not the old school Nick Fury. Then there's a really interesting moment in the issue where we discover that Blur is the one that had to deal with the whole One More Day situation. It's probably one of my most hated Marvel story arcs ever, but here I found it to be pretty funny that it's referenced. So at the end of the issue, Squadron Supreme of America finally find their way to Wakanda. They confront the Avengers. At the same time, Phil Coulson, who is the President of the United States, sees that his world starts falling apart, and he goes to directly intercede in the battle between these two teams. And the thing is that he has a cosmic cube, but it's Mephisto's version of the cosmic cube called the Pandemonium Cube. It seems that every time Mephisto rewrites in reality or does some type of change to it, he uses this cube. So now we jump to the Heroes Return issue, where basically it's just one big battle. But it's a lot of fun. First, we have Hyperion going toe-to-toe against Thor. Phoenix slash Echo goes up against Power Princess. The very young Starbrand goes up against Dr. Spectrum. We also get a Deus Ex Panther moment in this story, because that's one thing with Jason Aaron. In almost every single one of his story arcs on the Avengers, Black Panther just pulls something out of his ass and he resolves the situation with no explanation. In this case, his Deus Ex Panther would be, since vibranium comes from a meteor, he can run super fast and he actually can catch up to Blur. And he's able to take him down. Then we have Blade going up against Nighthawk. And at least for me, I feel like the main event is Captain America trying to take down Phil Coulson. So obviously what happens is the Avengers are able to stop the Squadron Supreme. They actually discovered that their whole existence is a lie, that they were a creation of Mephisto. Captain America is able to defeat Phil Coulson. He drops the Cosmic Cube, or the Pandora Cube, and it gets destroyed by Echo. So once this happens, reality reverts back to normal. So now we're back in the main 616 universe, and Dr. Spectrum and Blur end up being sent to Ravencroft. Hyperion just doesn't know what to do now that he's not part of the Squadron Supreme. He's just flying around New York City trying to find his place, while Nighthawk is going to have a very interesting arc. He's going to be hell-bent on trying to stop any of Mephisto's plans. And he will actually end up being part of the Avengers a couple of issues down the line. So I'm leaving this video here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.